8 people, 1 table, and a look that lasted half a second and cost me everything. I don't remember the exact date. I remember the room, 3 years of working with these people, a long table, coffee going cold at the far end. We were discussing a direction, a significant one, real money, real risk. And I was mid-sentence when it happened. 2 people at the far end of the table exchanged a look. Not hostile, not dramatic, just a look. The kind that lasts half a second and says everything that won't be said out loud. I finished my sentence. The room moved on. The decision went a different way. And I sat there, still holding my coffee, still in my chair, understanding for the first time that I had lost something. Not today, not in that room, months ago, in moments I hadn't thought to track. I'm Jay, and what I want to talk about today is how that happens, not the dramatic failure, the quiet one, the kind that's already done its damage before you have a name for it. Authority doesn't leave with a letter. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't give you a 2-week notice or a handshake on the way out. It erodes, quietly, gradually, through moments that feel, at the time, like exactly the right call. Here's what most people believe about authority, and I held this belief for longer than I'd like to admit. They believe it lives in the title, in the track record, in the room they've been given access to. They believe that if they keep doing good work, if they keep showing up, if they keep delivering, authority follows, automatically, like gravity pulling something toward the ground. It doesn't work that way. Authority is not a trophy you earn once and put on a shelf. It is a living thing. It requires maintenance, mostly invisible, mostly unglamorous, and the moment you stop maintaining it, it doesn't hold steady. It drifts, and the people around you feel that drift long before you have any idea it's happening. That's the part that's hard to sit with. They feel it first. You're always the last to know. There are 3 specific patterns I have watched erode authority, in myself and in people I've worked alongside. None of them look dangerous in the moment. That's precisely what makes them so effective at doing damage. The first is agreeing in the room and correcting outside it. You say yes in the meeting, you nod, you let the moment pass, and then 40 minutes later you send an email that says, "Actually, on reflection, I think we should reconsider." Or you pull someone aside in the corridor and quietly walk back what you just publicly endorsed. You think you're being thoughtful, measured. You're giving the idea space to breathe before you push back on it. The room doesn't read it that way. The room reads it as he doesn't hold his own position. He adjusts based on what he thinks people want to hear. He agrees publicly and retreats privately. And once that reading settles into a room, once it becomes the lens through which people process everything you say, every future statement you make carries less weight than it did the week before. The second is over-explaining. During that period, I developed a habit. I would walk into a room with a decision I had already made, thought through, stress-tested, ready, and I would spend the first 15 minutes building a case for it. Data, context, historical precedent. Alternative options I had already ruled out, explained in careful detail so the room could see I had considered them. I thought this was rigor. What it actually signaled, and I understand this now with a clarity that is mildly embarrassing, is that I expected the room to push back before anyone had said a word. I was pre-defending, building a wall before anyone had thrown a single thing at it. In a room of people who understand status, that is not rigor. That is anxiety wearing a very good suit. Brevity signals confidence, length signals doubt, and the room makes that calculation in the first 90 seconds before you finished your second slide. I spent 18 months being the most thoroughly prepared person in every meeting I attended. It was genuinely one of the most expensive habits I have ever developed. The third is absorbing other people's discomfort. This one is the most insidious because it looks, from the outside, and often from the inside too, like exactly what good leadership should look like. The room gets tense. Someone pushes back hard. Two people are talking over each other and the meeting is starting to go sideways. And you step in, you smooth it, you offer a concession, take the edge off, find the middle ground that gets everyone back on the same page. You are the reasonable one, the stable one, the one who knows how to hold a room together when it's pulling apart. Every time you do this, you are training the room in something you did not intend to teach. You are teaching them that when things get uncomfortable, you will move, that your position has flexibility built into it, that applying pressure produces results, that the way to get what they want is to create enough friction that you find it easier to concede than to hold. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you is the part nobody maps out, not the erosion, the recovery, and they look nothing alike. Here's what I had to understand before anything else could shift. The erosion didn't happen because I was weak. It didn't happen because I lacked intelligence or experience or genuine commitment to the work. It happened because I was deep inside a system I had spent years building. And when you are that close to something, your nervous system stops reading warning signals as warnings. It reads them as noise, as the ordinary friction of a complex environment you've learned to navigate. You've spent years developing the sensitivity to read a room accurately, to feel the temperature, to catch the shift before it becomes visible, and then that same sensitivity becomes the thing that blinds you. Because you feel the discomfort rising and something in you moves to resolve it before your mind has had the chance to ask whether resolving it is actually the right call right now. This is not a character flaw. This is what happens to people who care genuinely, deeply about the work and about the people they work alongside. The investment that made you effective becomes the very filter that makes the drift invisible to you. The people outside the system see it clearly. You're the last to know every time. I want to be direct about the recovery because this is where most people make the situation significantly worse. The instinct, when you finally name what's been happening, is to reassert, to come into the next meeting louder, more definitive, more visibly certain of yourself, to restructure something, call a reset, make a change large enough that the room has to notice it, a signal that says, I am still the person in charge here, in case there was any confusion. Every one of those moves makes it worse, because the room didn't lose faith in your volume. They lost faith in your consistency, and you cannot rebuild consistency with a single dramatic gesture. Consistency gets rebuilt in the same place it was lost. In the small moments, the micro decisions, the interactions that don't feel significant enough to pay careful attention to. That's exactly where authority lives, and that's exactly where it has to be rebuilt. Let me tell you what the recovery is not. It is not asserting more loudly in the next meeting. It is not calling a team reset and hoping the energy follows. It is not restructuring reporting lines to buy yourself back into clarity. It is not a conversation where you tell people, directly or indirectly, that you're back. All of those are solving the symptom. None of them touch the mechanism. The mechanism is the accumulated pattern of small surrenders, and you don't reverse a pattern with one large move in the opposite direction. You reverse it by changing what you do in the next small moment, then the one after that, then the one after that, slowly, without announcement, without asking the room to notice. The specific architecture of how to do that, which moments to hold, which signals to stop sending, how to rebuild consistency so gradually that it registers as presence rather than performance. That is what the Boardroom Chessmaster Dossier maps out completely, with the kind of precision that Wednesday afternoon deserved and didn't get. One last thing, and I say this because it connects directly to what we've been talking about today. The people I've watched lose authority most completely, the ones who never recovered it, weren't the ones who made bad decisions. They were the ones who were too good at making decisions, too fast, too certain, too indispensable to their own system. There's a particular kind of trap that the smartest founders fall into, and it looks nothing like failure. It looks, from the outside, like exactly the opposite. That's where we're going next. But if tonight is the night you're finally naming what's been happening in your rooms, if you've sat at that table and felt the shift without being able to call it, if you recognize something in that look between two people at the far end of the table, the Boardroom Chessmaster Dossier is what I wish I'd had before that meeting, not after. Click the first link in the pinned comment tonight